North Carolina is recognized to explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, this amendment is in response to the very constructive feedback we got from the public and to help our residents and citizens who may have disabilities. So providing the public with free online access to standards incorporated by reference is one of the main goals of the bill. And we want to ensure that transparent access extends to people with disabilities. I've worked on these issues for a long time, not just for this bill, but for access to people with disabilities in a wide variety of ways. This amendment requires that free online access mandated by the Pro Codes Act be compliant with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, which is the regulation that governs how federal agencies must provide access to electronic data and information for people with disabilities. We've listened to feedback about this topic and believe this amendment provides an important protection to ensure accessibility to codes referenced in the law. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady. I now recognize the gentlelady from California for
to strike the last word on the amendment.
gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the gentlelady from North Carolina is offering this in good faith so that I think essentially the blind would be able to access what is available to others, and for that I have no objection. The problem is that it still prohibits anyone, including the blind, from accessing the law fully, which is the underlying problem with this bill. The chairman earlier said, who would ever post these laws incorporated by reference for free? And the answer is obvious. Publicresource.org has done that, and that's why they were sued by the standard-setting organizations in lengthy litigation where I submitted a number of amicus briefs, including one in which the chairman himself signed on. So that is readily available. And I would note also that the standard-setting organizations lost in court 4 years ago, and they have continued to develop these standards. Losing in court didn't prevent them from doing that. It's worth noting that the standards are actually drafted usually by volunteer experts from the sectors, including industry and academia and government, but then the SDOs sell the standards for prices that can reach thousands of dollars. I would note that generally the SDOs lobby then to make the standards they publish part of the law, either federal or state statutes by regulation. And then these standards become binding on the American people. They would have to pay to find out what the law is and to debate the law. If the state legislature wants to adopt these standards and the citizens want to have a discussion about that, they couldn't copy the standards and then engage in robust discussion. Those who filed briefs along with me arguing for the law should be free include Public Resource, the NAACP, the Cato Institute, the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, California's Sonoma County and the State and Local Government Employees Union asked me. The chairman indicated that you could just decline to accept these standards. That's actually not the case in California and many other states. The states adopt the building codes, and cities and counties are bound by them. They're not able to opt out. It's the state law. And in fact, to find out what the state law is, the cities and counties have to pay up. That's why the county of Sonoma was submitting an amicus brief to the courts saying that the law needs to be free. They need to have full access. And in some cases, those who adopt the law would have to pay actually to find out and to fully explore what they have adopted. So I think the courts have been clear that you can't own the law. As Carl Malmud, one of the activists, said, I fought the law and the law won. We have to make sure that we do not deny access to the public for the details of this law, as this bill would do. I have no problem with the amendment that has been offered. It simply puts those who are disabled on equal footing with those who are able, denied access to the full elements of the law. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll support the amendment, but I'm speaking to strongly oppose the underlying bill. And in Washington, there's a trick sometimes where people name a bill the exact opposite of what it does. Like the Fiscal Responsibility Act was very fiscally irresponsible. And in this case, we have the Protecting and Enhancing Public Access to Codes Act. But what the bill actually does is limit public access to codes. And so for folks watching at home who view this as like a highly technical debate, here's the essence of what we're discussing. That which has the force of law, some of us believe you shouldn't be able to limit the distribution of based on what you're willing to pay for it. You should never have to rent the law. You should be able to get the law for free all the time. And everything that has the force of law, including many of these regulations. Now, I would have thought it would have been a sweet enough deal for those who get their novel concept included into a code or a regulation to have their novel concept in that code or regulation. Oftentimes, when in Florida, for example, in building codes, someone will create a better hurricane tie-down. And if they get the code to reflect a requirement for that tie-down, they're going to do very well. But apparently, that's not good enough, because now, if this bill were to become law, then if someone wanted to repackage and publish do-it-yourself publications that included that information, they would have to go and pay to republish that which is the law. There is a reason this bill has been on this agenda in this committee for week after week, and it is not passed, because a bunch of us just are totally bamboozled by the concept that you would ever set something up like this. And the reason we are taking it up in the Judiciary Committee is because the people who have wanted to rent the law previously keep losing in court. Time after time, they lose in court when they try to make you rent the law. And so now they're trying to get us to change it so that they can do it. This is bad for do-it-yourselfers. It's bad for regular folks. And it's good for special interests. And I'm not going to vote for the bill, and I'm probably going to support this amendment and many others. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes in opposition, or in response to some of the things that have been said. And I'd like to place in the record a copy of the information gleaned from Ms. Lofgren's website, and I'll read just a small portion of it. In common with other websites, log files are stored on the web server, saving details such